June 15th, 2026. Atlanta. Spain begin the World Cup with a match against Cape Verde, a small island nation that has reached the planet's biggest football tournament for the first time. The stars take the field: Ferran Torres, Mikel Oyarzabal, and later, Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, and Nico Williams. Spain press all evening, take 27 shots, and barely allow the opponent out of their own penalty area. But the ball never goes in. In Cape Verde's goal stands a 40-year-old goalkeeper without a club. His contract ended 2 weeks before the tournament, and his market value is around 50,000 euros. In modern football, that is an almost invisible number. And yet, he is the one who stops Spain. The final whistle. 0-0. Cape Verde take a historic point, and Vozinha drops to the grass and begins to cry. Why does a man who has just played the biggest match of his life look as if that evening hit him harder than it hit Spain? The answer begins far from Atlanta, on the dusty streets of Mindelo, and in a nickname he once hated: Vozinha. Grandmother. Josimar Jose Evora Diaz was born on June 3, 1986 in Mindelo, on the island of São Vicente, and his football story began with his name. His father wanted to name his son Valdano, after the Argentine Jorge Valdano, the 1986 world champion. But the Cape Verdean authorities refused. No foreign name was allowed. So his father chose another name, Josimar, after the Brazil national team defender at that same World Cup. So just look at this. The child had not made a single save yet, and already in his life, there was Argentina, Brazil, and the World Cup. But the name the whole world would come to know him by appeared later: Vozinha. Grandmother. Sounds cute, right? Except for him, at first, it was an insult. His father left for military service. His mother, Ana Candida, worked a lot, and Josimar was mostly raised by his grandmother and grandfather. In the yard, he played against older boys, often got kicked, became angry, and did not know how to lose at all. When it became too rough, he ran home, to his grandmother, and the older boys immediately picked it up: Vozinha, as if to say, there he goes again, running to Granny. And here's the question: what do you think happens to a kid who is constantly teased for weakness? He either breaks, or he starts coming back again and again. For Vozinha, it was the second option. That word made him furious, but it also brought him back to the street every time. By the way, did you know that he would only become a professional footballer at 25? For modern football, that is almost madness, but we will come back to that. First, it is important to understand where this stubbornness came from. Vozinha did not grow up in an academy where coaches, agents, and analysts watch your every step. His first school was the dusty streets of Mindelo, older opponents, and the desire to prove that he was not just a boy who ran to his grandmother after every hit. He had no early fame. For a long time, he remained somewhere on the edge of the football map. And that is why the next turn looks so strange. Years later, he himself would ask for the very word that once made him angry to be written on his shirt. But how did a player almost no one knew outside the islands even make it to Angola, Moldova, Cyprus, and Portugal? That is where his real football career begins. And now look at just how strange his career was. In modern football, future stars are usually spotted early. Academies, agents, highlights, first contracts. For Vozinha, everything began much more quietly. He only started playing professionally at 25 for Modest Batuque in Cape Verde. Then came Mindelo, also on his home islands. By football standards, that is very late. Many players have already built a career by that age, while he was only just stepping beyond local football. The first serious step came in 2012, when he moved to Angola and signed with Progresso do Sambizanga, and it was there that the childhood nickname became an official part of his image. There was already another goalkeeper in the team named Josimar, so he was offered the option Josimar II. Vozinha refused. If people at home knew him as Vozinha, then that was the name he would keep playing under. And here's the question: would you choose the word people used to tease you with as a child? For him, it was not just a name on a shirt. It was as if he took that nickname back for himself and stopped defending himself from it. Then begins the life of a football nomad. Angola, Moldova, Portugal, Cyprus, a short spell in Slovakia. At Gil Vicente, he saves 5 penalties in one season. In Cyprus, he spends 5 years at AEL Limassol and wins the National Cup. Remember this detail. He did not have a glossy career, but he had experience surviving in different football worlds, and that will still play a role when Spain comes out against him. In July 2024, he returns to Portugal and signs with Chavez. He is already close to 40, but he is still playing. In the 2025-26 season, he makes 19 appearances and keeps 6 clean sheets. And then, the strangest turn. On June 1st, 2026, his contract expires. 2 weeks before the World Cup, Cape Verde's starting goalkeeper becomes a free agent. And now imagine this. A country is going to the World Cup for the first time. The group has Spain, Uruguay, and Saudi Arabia. And in goal stands a 40-year-old goalkeeper without a club. How is he supposed to survive a match against Spain? We will find the answer in Atlanta. On June 15th, 2026, Cape Verde plays its first ever World Cup match, and the opponent is immediately as tough as it gets, Spain. A team with the ball, the tempo, the technique, the depth of squad, and the feeling that sooner or later, the debutante will simply break. The first minutes quickly show the difference in level. Spain control the game, move the ball around the penalty area, open up the flanks, and load passes into dangerous zones. Cape Verde spend most of the time just holding on. And this is where Vozinha's match begins. He takes the crosses, reacts to shots from inside the box, talks to his defenders, wastes time when the rhythm needs to be broken. To the viewer, this may look like ordinary goalkeeper work, but at this level, every second decides everything. Step out half a step earlier, you save it. Hesitate, you concede. The most important moment comes at the end of the first half. Spain create a chance that should have ended Cape Verde's resistance. The first shot, Vozinha saves. The ball stays with the Spanish players, the rebound comes, he manages to get up and close the goal again. And here's the question. Have you ever seen one save change not the score, but the belief of a team? Because after that episode, Cape Verde are no longer just enduring. They begin to understand that Spain can be held. In the second half, Luis de la Fuente brings on Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, and Nico Williams. Spain adds speed, pressure, individual quality. Over the whole match, 27 shots. According to some data, Vozinha makes 7 or 8 saves, and most of them come after shots from inside the box. But the score stays 0-0. For Spain, it is a failed start. For Cape Verde, it is a historic point. And for Vozinha, it is the moment that completely changes his life. A 40-year-old free agent, whom almost no one was discussing before the tournament, suddenly becomes the face of the first major shock of the World Cup. But then comes a scene that makes this story stronger than any dry match report. After the final whistle, Vozinha drops to the grass and cries. And now the main question. Why does a man who has just stopped Spain look as if that evening was not only a victory for him? Behind those tears stands a story that will reach politicians, visa offices, and Miami Airport. At first, it seems like he is simply overwhelmed. First World Cup, Spain, a historic draw. But the reason was deeper. It was connected to the woman who had spent her whole life waiting for the moment to see her son on the biggest football stage. His mother, Ana Candida Evora, was not in the stadium. And this is where the story goes beyond football. Cape Verde was on the list of countries whose citizens faced strict visa conditions for traveling to the United States. Plus, at the start of the tournament, Vozinha's mother did not have a valid passport. Imagine this. Your son finally reaches the World Cup at 40 years old. He stops Spain. He becomes the hero of the evening, and you watch it from far away, because documents and visa rules turned out to be stronger than a family dream. That is exactly why his tears after Spain spread so widely through the media. This was no longer just a story about saves, but a story about a mother who could not get to the biggest match of her son's life. Then a chain reaction began. In the United States, Hakeem Jeffries got involved and appealed to Secretary of State Marco Rubio with a request to help the footballer's family. Visa fees and bonds for his mother were waived, the Cape Verdean authorities urgently made a passport, and a Chinese entrepreneur paid for her business class flight, clothes, and suitcases. On June 19th, Ana Candida arrives in Miami. Before the match against Uruguay, she finally sees her son, and her words sound as if she had never doubted what happened against Spain at all. "I knew that not a single ball would go into his goal against Spain, and that is exactly what happened. I am incredibly proud to be his mother, and I hope he continues to save every ball that comes his way." Look how quickly the story changed. Just a few days earlier, Vozinha was a 40-year-old free agent with a tiny market value. Now, his match is being discussed by fans, journalists, and politicians. His mother is flying across the ocean, and Cape Verde suddenly understands that a draw with Spain might only be the beginning. But next, they had to prove the most important thing, that this was not just one random night, because ahead were Uruguay, Saudi Arabia, and the chance to do what almost no one believed in before the tournament. After Spain, Cape Verde had a different problem. One beautiful night is not enough. A sensation only becomes a story when you confirm it afterward. Next came Uruguay. The match ends 2-2, and here, Vozinha no longer looks like the unbreakable wall from Atlanta. But for Cape Verde, it is still an important result. The team does not lose again and stays in the fight for the playoffs. Then, Saudi Arabia. Another match where the task is not to die beautifully, but simply to survive. Vozinha makes 3 saves, plays confidently with his feet, and Cape Verde hold another 0-0. 3 matches, 3 draws, 3 points. And imagine this, it is enough. Cape Verde reached the round of 32 at the World Cup, the first team since Chile in 1998 to get through the group only on draws. And ahead, Argentina with Lionel Messi. Even Lionel Scaloni speaks about them before the match without condescension. "It is pointless to claim that Cape Verde are an easy opponent. That is a lie. They have proven they can fight, and they will do everything to make life difficult for us." And this is where Vozinha's story suddenly changes genre. We started with a goalkeeper who was teased with the word grandmother. Then came the free agent without a club. Then Spain, tears, and his mother in Miami. And now, the internet enters the game. Before the World Cup, Vozinha had around 31,000 followers on Instagram. After the match against Spain, Brazil's Cazé TV launches a real flash mob. Casimiro Miguel and his team, right during the broadcast, ask viewers to follow the Cape Verde goalkeeper. "Usually we ask you to subscribe to our channel, but today we are going to ask you to follow Vozinha. This guy is stopping Spain all by himself, making history and shocking the world. Let's show him the power of our community and give him love." And the Brazilians actually do it. First, millions of followers in hours, then 5 million, then 10. By the end of the group stage, more than 17 million. A 40-year-old goalkeeper from Cape Verde suddenly becomes a world-level internet star. By the way, here's a detail that shows how much football has changed. His market value before the tournament was around 50,000 euros, and the estimated price of one advertising post after his Instagram explosion is already more than $170,000. But here, it is important not to drift into a fairy tale. Internet fame does not mean the football market immediately falls at your feet. After the tournament, he is offered to Brazilian club Ceará, but the club refuses. The goalkeeper line is already complete. And this may be the most honest moment in the whole story. Vozinha became a World Cup hero, gained millions of followers, led a small country into the playoffs, but his career still remains an open question. He arrived at the tournament without a club, and he leaves as a man whose childhood nickname is now known by millions. And that is exactly why the ending of this story is not about one match against Spain. It is about how football sometimes notices a person too late, but when it notices, it becomes impossible to look away.